You've been grinding, showing up, doing everything you're supposed to do, but the results still not here yet. And if you're being honest, it's exhausting. You start wondering, am I on the right path? Should I slow down? Should I change directions? Maybe this just isn't meant to be. But this is the moment that breaks most people. But not you, because here's the truth. Success doesn't show up on your timeline. It shows up when you refuse to stop, because the breakthrough does come. So if you're feeling stuck and you're feeling exhausted, wondering when things are finally going to click, stick with us, because today we're going to break down 3 game-changing questions that will shift your mindset, help you make better decisions, and reconnect you with the people who matter most. So let's get into this. And officially, welcome back to Embers Rising. If this is your first time joining us, we welcome our first-time listeners. I'm your host, Wendy J., and sitting across from me always is my never-give-up co-host, David Tucker. And if there's one thing I know about my husband and business partner, and David knows, it's how to keep going when life isn't handing out the easy wins. And today we're talking about something we all go through, the waiting game. You're putting in the work, you're putting in the hours, but success steals far, far away. So how do you keep moving when the up hasn't arrived yet? We've got 3 powerful questions we're going to dig into that's going to help you flip your perspective and help you make the regret-free decisions, and then reconnect you with the right people to help you rise. So let's dive into this and say, welcome, man. Hey, Dave. How you
Wendy,
doing?
How you doing? I love this topic. You know how I love to just embrace massive amounts of what I call failure, because success so often feels like failure, doesn't it?
It does.
It happens so slow, right?
Yeah.
It's like the sloth that's just out there moving slowly, but he eventually gets to the top of the tree.
Yeah, it
and
does.
We're doing a lot of things in our life right now that are both successful and feel like failure at the same time. So that's why I wore the camouflage hat today. I'm just trying to blend in a little bit.
Yes.
And embrace this topic. Do we have a couple of shout outs?
We do. Yes. I just had this quote. Something came to me just now. I've got to find this quote because I heard it today and I have to find who this is. And I believe it was, I want to say C.S. Lewis, but it was like, the quote was something like, failures are like stop signs. Every failure is like a stop sign towards success. And I just think that is so powerful. And so today I was reminded of that from great, incredible iFit trainer, Tommy Ribs. We were running today in Bolivia on this volcano called Tanupa. And it's crazy elevation. It was incredible. I think he was at 16K. And he was talking about, the failures he's had in his personal life. And he was quoting that. And I just wanted to make sure that was the right thing when I shouted that out.
And so it's hilarious. I'm doing my workout on the other side of the gym, and Wendy's there with Tommy Rivas, and he is dealing out massive failure because I look over and we have one of those Nordic tracks that you can crank up. And I think it was cranked up to almost 40%. It's like, Wendy's just jogging or barely moving, just sky high at this 40% incline. And I'm like, why does success feel like failure?
Right?
Because the work is hard.
The work is hard. Yeah, it is hard. And we're going to dig into this because, I've got some great things to share, but I really want to dive in first of all, where we're at. Where are we at? Gosh, it's been a couple of weeks, Dave, since we've been in the studio. I'm so glad we're in here again. It's hard because, we've got life and business and, it's hard to get into the studio. We've had a lot of things happening, but let us break down. Oh, there's so much, y'all. Let us break down, my friend, where we're at. Let's see. So let's talk about failure. I have shot. So there's a new podcast course coming out that we are putting out, and it's like a podcast course for podcasters who don't know how to manage their podcast, and not just don't know how. It's really about getting organized to stream like the top 1%. Now we have figured out as podcasters ourselves how to do this. And listen, I have reached out to so many podcasters and pro podcasters and podcast agencies to dial in the magic system. And I can tell you, no one has it. And no one else is teaching it on YouTube or Udemy or anything. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to create this for everyone that is a podcaster that wants to streamline this and have a system to success. So anyway, long story short, I recorded last year, the podcast course. And I was like, I'm so excited. We're going to release it in December. Didn't happen. Then in January, recorded again, which was like a couple of weeks ago. And it didn't happen. We actually went back to the files to hit the editing. And lo and behold, the one of the files wasn't even there, the actual file. The other file didn't have access to the presets that I needed for the editing. So again, talk about failure. I could have totally, and I was a little upset. I have to admit, my friend, where I was
wait
a little upset.
I want to interject there.
I was a lot upset.
Yeah, okay. Let's clear that up. A little upset versus a lot upset.
Now listen, when you're shooting a course, okay, and this was 2 courses actually. It wasn't just one like 30-minute thing. Like I had 2. So I had a get starting course, and then I have a full dive in podcast mastery blueprint course. So it's a whole another 45-minute training. So I mean, there's a whole ordeal. Like you've got the set, you've got the lights, you've got hair, makeup, the whole thing, and then of course you've got everything that I'm going to share. And so I just felt like I'm going to lose my voice. How can I go all in on this? But listen, my friend, I did not give up. I went in, and there was 2 ways I saw this, and this is kind of dives into this, what we're talking about today. Is first of all, I could have just been so upset and just say, I'm so mad, and I'm just going to put my happy face on and do it. Or I could have said, there was a lot of things that I wish I would have done in the take number 2, and I'm just going to correct it on take number 3 and just make it rad, because that's what I really wanted to do. I look back at take 2, even though I couldn't access the actual raw file, I saw what I could have done differently, and we fixed it. So anyway, that course is coming out, my friend, and we're super excited about that. What else is new, Dave? We had, let's see,
speaking of podcasts, right? Just this whole setup is like one massive rolling failure.
Oh my
after
gosh.
another. And so, podcasts, just an audio-only podcast, super easy. You need one piece of equipment, 2 mics, and a little bit of power.
Right.
The way we're doing it with video is exponentially more frustrating and failure-ridden with so many wires. Like, if people could see, we're surrounded by this forest of wires. And after we set up this beautiful podcast studio, we realized there's no internet in here. And so, the wires go out the door all the way down to the hallway into your office so we can plug everything in.
You're doing a great job, though.
It's been an adventure.
It's been an adventure.
You're just saying that publicly. Because privately, I got to say, before we shot this, Wendy said, okay, I'm super not feeling well. I don't really want to do this today. Let's make sure everything's set up before I get in there.
Yeah, let's do that.
But in a nice way.
So that's the podcasting side. Last week, I spent some time with a couple of really cool leaders. Omar El Takori is an incredible content creator, teacher, leader out there. And I spent 6 days with him, Monday through Saturday, diving into some growth for our business, and super excited about that. We also met a new leader named Neil Dingra, incredible influence out there in the real estate and investment world. Follow him, check him out if you're into that thing. He's just an incredible person all around. So it just goes to show that I'm constantly growing, constantly pushing. We've constantly telling you all that we come from so many, masterminds and AI mastery. And so this is like my next thing I'm going into. What else? Still haven't pushed the pay now, but about ready to. By the time this comes out, I will have pushed the pay now, hiring a ultra running coach, professional ultra running coach to get me through this season. Excited about that. And we are creating a new community. Actually, there's going to be 2 communities. I'm announcing this publicly, Dave. I can't believe it. On my Instagram, diving into it. We're going to actually start teaching everything that we're doing here, as well as in school, SKOOL. We're diving into Alex Hermosi's school. We're going to have a community over there. Super excited. And my last check mark off this is we have some new voices that are joining us here on Embers Rising. We have a couple of guests that have reached out to us, that have shared their stories with us, and we're super fired up to bring their incredible Embers Rising story from their before and after. And I'm telling you, my friend, these are incredible people. They, in fact, inspire me so much just thinking about them. It's so cool when you meet someone that's like real and not through the lens of TikTok or YouTube or Instagram. You have a real conversation with them, and you are seeing the transformation as they're doing it. It's just incredible.
It's the thing that you imagine when you launch a podcast, right? You're like, oh man, we're going to have cool guests, and we're going to do all these things. And, honestly, we haven't spent a lot of time reaching out to people asking them if they wanted to be guests, but it got to a point where it felt a little bit like failure, right?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, we have people reaching out, and they're saying things like, I'm listening to your podcast. I'm like, you have? Right? So someone's listening to it. And it really resonates with me. I'm like, it does.
That's
And then I
amazing.
have a similar story that I'd like to share. I'm like, you do? And as it turns out, yeah, we've got to meet some cool people. And not that it's super cool that it's just Wendy and I, but now we get to figure out how to bring someone in virtually. Because I don't think 3 people can sit at this table, and it's a whole nother set of wires that's going to have to go out.
It's going to be great. We've done it before. We brought in Sun Yi, was an incredible guest of ours when we first started our podcast episode. I think he was like in the first 20 episodes, first 10 episodes
Right.
maybe. We brought in Sun Yi. He had an incredible story. If you don't know who Sun Yi is, he's an incredible creator. He has launched Night Owl Nation. He's all about storytelling and mindset with storytelling. And his kind of claim to fame is, when I say claim to fame, is he always gets you to think differently. Like in the phrase of, I didn't think about it that way. It's like, oh, yeah. So
That is his brand. I never thought
Yeah.
about it that way.
yeah,
So
he's really cool. But okay, so let's dive in. First of all, a shout out, acknowledgement to you. Hey, listen, you guys have pressed play today, and that really means something to us. It's easy to check out, to numb yourself and to stay in the cycle of overthinking and quit. But if you didn't, you know that you're here and you're investing in your growth, your time with Dave and I, and that already separates you from most people. So maybe you're listening while you're driving, working out, doing the dishes, running, whatever it is, you chose to, feed your mind instead of letting doubt take over. And that's super powerful. So since this podcast is fueled by incredible community, I want to take a second to give some shout outs. And Dave always likes this because he never gets to read them like my project manager and I, and they're pretty cool.
like, I know I should get in there, but
There's so much.
there's
it
just
is
so
an
much
over
going on in
long
life.
amount.
I know you get it.
So, okay, so I'm going to dig down. We have a little, we have quite a few here. I won't be able to give everything away because we've been out of the studio for a couple of weeks. We shot some episodes earlier, so they have been releasing. I think we've just missed like a week out there, but okay, I'm just going to see what I can do and dive in. There was a episode, I believe episode 46 maybe, called Stuck in Life. Here's the fix. We had some shout outs about that episode. I want to say Victoria G. Stevens, maybe. Oh, this comparison trap. It seriously can waste so much energy. Love these tips. And then, oh man, you guys, your handles are just getting crazy. NEUSA Mecom. Thanks for sharing. Social with Glams. This is a one-of-a-kind episode. Thank you, Social with Glams. Same post was on LinkedIn. Amna Ali says, everyone is on their unique journey. Comparison and trying to keep up with the Jones is the number one killer of happiness and satisfaction. Varun C says, sitting on ideas is fruitless. More power to the action takers. So right on. I had another Instagram reel that went out called Building, Learning, Growing. Actually launched that last week when I was hanging out with Omar and the team. And Social with Glam says, love some BTS moments, robust physical therapy, always hustling, always learning. That's true to the grind. Inspired by life events is beautiful share. Healthy and holy. Your content is already crispy. C2C Club, Content to Cash Club. That was a new follow for me. So that's pretty cool.
Nice.
Healthy and
All
holy.
right.
Thank you. And then there was another one. I think this was part of the episode. There was I want to say a short clip that went out. The one thing you're forgetting. It was a short clip from one of our episodes. And Cassandra and Hines says, your mindset is the foundation of our life. Love this. It's so true. Oh man, let's see. This BILAL digital marketer says, absolutely, Wendy. A few minutes of reflection can make a world of difference. And then Newsome Mikam, I'm not sure how to say that name. Good to know. Clayton Pantano, love this post. Such a valuable topic to bring into the light and talk about. And then the last one I'm going to share is there was a post about, hey, AI isn't here to replace you. It's here to free you. And I had a lot of comments blown up on this. Vishal Burari says, AI is a total game changer. I leverage AI to automate a lot of my tasks. But after watching this, I feel like I can go beyond just that. Social with Glam says, the sooner you adapt, the better. Cassandra and Hines says, I completely agree. AI plus intuition has been a game changer and more time for things that matter. Love this. And Brand Social Consulting says, yes, AI is making our lives so much easier. I love that we're seeing some positivity on that, you know, because we've heard kind of not so much positive things.
And the way you read the names, I'm glad I'm not doing it. But yeah, we're at that point where you expect to see some of the haters coming up in the comments, right?
Yeah.
We see a few things occasionally here and there, and that's just like the failure loop, right? Like
Yeah.
running in someone else's program
Yes.
against what you're doing. It's best to ignore.
Exactly. So on my last two were on LinkedIn, same post. AI is a super time saver for sure if used correctly. And Jessica Bennett says, Wendy, I'm on the same page. AI is going to be and already is transformative. I'm learning all I can so I can stay relevant in the sphere of marketing. It's been a wild ride, and I know LLMs and other AI tools are just getting started. So that's all I'm going to share because I'm flooded, and I really want to get into our topic today because we are going to really break into this. This is a hard topic to talk about because sometimes when you do hit the wall, you kind of want to give up, and you really ask yourself, you know, is it meant to be? And I think, and I talk about this a little bit, but I think you have to ask yourself, and I'm breaking right into this, everyone, just breaking right into this. I think you have to zoom out, 5 years from yourself right now when you're in that, because in that space, it's so easy to see your small bubble, and just give up and just be, I'm just going to go get the job at the XYZ thing. Or, you're a content creator and you haven't put a business around it, or you're a podcaster and you're still hustling, trying to figure out the management of your podcast and the workflow, or your video or your ads just aren't working correctly, whatever it is, or your running isn't to where it's at, you want to just give up on that. But this is the time you don't. And so I had these three are game-changing questions, and they really helped me flip my mindset to keep going, because I think every day you show up and that you try for yourself is this increment of will, is this increment of like, yes, I've got this, I can do this. So this one is called What If You Could Flip This? And I actually first heard about this idea from Mel Robbins' podcast, and it stuck with me. And she was talking about a gentleman named Terry Crews. Yes, that Terry Crews, the actor, the comedian, the artist, the former NFL player, the guy with the infectious energy, larger-than-life personality. You've seen him in the Brooklyn Nine-Nine, White Chicks, Everybody Hates Chris, and those insane Old Spice commercials where he's flexing every muscle, yelling about body wash. And today he's a household name. But before all of that, before the movies, the commercials, the fame, he was just trying to survive. After his football career ended, Terry found himself broke, unemployed, and struggling to provide for his family. And the only job he could get was sweeping floors. Now, imagine that, going from a professional athlete, living the dream, you're in the media, all, incredible vehicles, cars, everything's around you. And now you're pushing a broom in a factory. I mean, that kind of failure would break most people,
right,
honestly.
Soul crushing, right?
And at first it did almost break him, but then something flipped in his mindset. And instead of seeing it as just sweeping the floors, he treated it like it mattered, like it was training. And he told himself, what if I could do this with excellence? I can do anything with excellence. And that shift changed everything, because success isn't something that finds you. It's something you prepare for. It's built in the moments when no one is watching, when you think the work doesn't matter, but it does. When we show up at the gym, Dave, and we're in there and it's cold and it's crispy in the morning, we've got 2 heaters on, but yet we're jamming out, a 3-hour workout, a 2-hour workout, whatever it is. So the question I want to ask you is, think about this. If someone gave you $1 million to sweep that floor, how would you sweep it? And what if you took that question to every single thing you're doing? If someone gave you $1 million to sit in this podcast room and talk on this mic to you, how would you do it? How would you show up? Now, today, I arrived in the studio with a headache. I'm a bit tired. Didn't sleep well last night. I'm a bit stressed out. But you know what? I'm here. And that question got my mind going, where I thought, okay, if someone gave me $1 million to show up and sit in the studio, I am showing up for my listeners. I am showing up for my audience. That is so powerful.
Awesome. And I love it that that's tied to a story about an athlete, right? Because athletes are so unique in the fact that to get to any level of success, they have to go through massive amounts of failure and challenges, and it
Yes.
just seems so slow,
Totally.
not to mention injuries and things that are way beyond your control, like the weather and politics and, trades and all that sort of stuff. So we have so many stories of friends of ours that are in the athlete space that have overcome some amazing things, right? And I think one of the core things that always resonates with me is that you're greater than your thoughts, right? Because if you get wound up in the thoughts of failure, things aren't working out for me. I'm pushing a broom when I used to be a pro athlete, right? You got to future trip and say, all right, this is where I'm at now. This is not my future. I'm greater than my thoughts. And and dig in.
Yeah, Sally McRae was talking about on her episode the other day about envisioning every single race, finishing every single race before she even begins training for it. And I think that is so powerful. Already seeing yourself finish, whatever distance that you're going to do, but seeing yourself come to the finish line, knowing that you're already going to finish. When we did last year and we took on, and I just think, today I'm moving beyond that 50K pace, and I will be beyond that. But, at the time, it was the first time I'd ever done it. And so it seemed like a really big thing. And I can tell you, I envisioned making it through that finish line every day I got into the gym. I was like, I'm going to make it through there. I'm going to make it through there. And that is so powerful. And I think with anything that you're doing in your life, like you're saying, I think the envisioning process and imagining the future you is so important,
That's cool. I learned that lesson in sports from coaches when I was on ski team, right? And before you would go down a course, they don't let you run it, right? They set the course, but they allow you to, we call it slide the course, right? Where you literally just slide your skis sideways through the series of gates with your coach. And like in the downhill, you would need to pick your line based on some visualized point in the future, right? Because like drop off jumps, things like that, you don't see down the hill. All you see is like across the valley. And so you had to teach yourself to line up with a tree or a rock or a cliff or whatever you could see, right? And then you would get to the top and you would sync all of those things, and you would go through the visualization process literally
to do it.
Just thinking about each point in the course where you would be pointing yourself, right?
Wow.
And that's a great metaphor for life, right? Because if you don't have those points to think about, where am I headed when things are happening so crazy, it just sometimes doesn't work out. And it sometimes doesn't work out anyway. And I think that's sort of like the overarching theme of this episode.
For sure.
Is that it's going to not work out more times than it is going to work out.
I really encourage you listening to this to look at what's in front of you today, because you have to ask yourself, are you half-stepping, waiting for a bigger opportunity? Or are you bringing excellence in what's already in your hands right now? Because the way you show up, the way you think you are showing up, maybe what you're not showing up as. And that determines what comes next. And there's a lot more that you can do. In fact, again, back to Tommy Rivs on that training today, talking about, can you give yourself more? And the answer is always yes. Can you do more? The answer is always yes. And I get done with a work day, Dave, and I'm like, I am so tapped out. At the end of the day, though, did I actually do the things? And this is going to tie into one of the questions here, not the next one, but the following one, because it's so important. And I know that I can go next level.
And Tommy Rivas, so you brought him up a couple times.
Yeah.
Love the story. Look it up. But he was a world-class runner. He still is a world-class runner. But he had a challenge with cancer that almost
lung cancer
ended his life, right?
Yeah.
And, just listening to him talk about success in the beginning, success looked like just being able to stand up while holding on to something, and you can imagine coming from a world where you're able to run 100 miles, right? 100-mile race, to just trying to hold yourself up to get to the bathroom that's a couple of feet away. Like,
it's tough.
You got to rewire the brain for sure.
So I think the takeaway here is remember the question, if someone gave you $1 million to sweep this floor, how would you sweep it? If someone gave you $1 million to do the thing that you're doing right now, how would you do it? That's the takeaway. Let's dive into number 2.
All right, I like it.
All right, so the next one is all about the weight of every decision. The weight of every decision. Now, one of the biggest things that people kind of get stuck in is indecision, really. You hit a crossroad and suddenly every choice feels heavier. You kind of get into your head about, what if I pick the wrong path? What if I make a mistake? What if the decision doesn't work out? What if this decision changes everything? So you hesitate and you overthink and you stay stuck. But here's what I've learned. Regret doesn't come from failing. It comes from waiting too long, playing it too safe, ignoring what you already know deep down. So instead of asking, what's the right decision, try instead, which choice will I be proud of 5 years from now? Because I can tell you, to hit the pay now button, to hire a professional ultra running coach this year, I actually am like, well, maybe I'll just wait until next year. This year's maybe just not the right time. But then I ask myself,
I saw the cost. Maybe you should.
Yeah.
Maybe you should just wait a year.
And then I ask myself, which choice will I be proud of in 5 years? Will it be this? Because when you zoom out, when you stop thinking about the fear and you start looking at the bigger picture, the right decision usually becomes obvious. And so you have to think about a choice that you're overanalyzing right now. And it's instead of like waiting for the certainty that, yes, that's the answer, you have to ask yourself, will this move me forward to the person I want to become? Then act on it and do it and don't waver, because clarity doesn't come from thinking. It comes from doing, the action piece. In fact, I was just writing a quote about that. You'll probably see it on my Instagram. This will release next week, but you'll probably already see it on my Instagram this week or next, exactly about that.
Cool. And as brain health coaches, right, we know that failure and negativity is your default thinking pattern, right? And it's your default thinking pattern because we, as humans, are wired for survival and not success. And it's those stories of failure that you hold on to so that you don't make mistakes again in the future, right? It's trying to protect you. It's trying to give you that survival mode. When you think of what's lodged in your head, the bad times weigh more heavily than the good times, right? And that's for a reason. So you have to be really cognizant in your thinking patterns to break them when it looks like things are dark, when it looks like things aren't working, when success seems to be coming so slowly, right, that you can't believe it, like you're frustrated. Just know that that's your DNA speaking up, and it's not your reality, right? You've got to be more than your thoughts in that moment. If you're going to take on a coach and do something that you've never done before, I know you've got problems with your feet, and there's some other things going on with running distance, right? It just shows up. So all of those things are telling you, like, maybe this isn't such a good idea. Maybe do it next year, right? But that's not Wendy J. If you've learned anything, like
I'm all in.
Yeah, you'll run even though a toe's falling off. I probably give up. Like I cut the line at toenails. If my toenails start falling off, I'm like, I'm just going to take up croquet.
It just goes with ultra running. Now, quick plug here. If you are, Dave and I are in the mentorship space, mentoring businesses that are struggling or want to move the needle, in a massive way. This is what we do. Do not hesitate. DM us. Reach out to us. Fill out the application on our website, ilukamedia.com, and check it out. We are moving our programs around, and there will be a new version of what's happening out there where we can help more people, because we've been on a one-on-one for many, many, many years. And now we want to help more of you at the same time. So we are moving that along. But if you can get in with us now, still in one, we're still accepting one-on-ones for just a little bit longer until we make this big move for us. But, just going back to this, I think any decision that you make, and again, the weight of it is you're sitting there debating. And I think about the person that is like wants to go to the gym to just get started, and they're driving past the gym every day, maybe 2 gyms a day, and they just want to get started. That's the weight of the decision. A year goes by, 2 years go by, 3 years go by, 4 years go by, and so on. Just get in there and do it. I saw such an inspiring woman on Instagram the other day who is overweight, who has run 2, my friends, 2 marathons, who is running in the snow. And this gal is heavier. She does not look like a typical runner. And if I can find her channel, I will post it for y'all to follow in the show notes, as well as show it here on YouTube, because her story, it looks absolutely incredible. I mean, talk about
get her
doing
on as
nothing,
a guest.
you know? Yeah, I mean, literally, she is incredible. I mean, just what she's doing, when you look at her, you're just, wow, it doesn't look like a runner, but she's out there doing it literally in the snow and the ice. She's, I think, believe in upstate New York.
And I see there's a lot of people following her, you know,
Oh,
and they're watching,
thousands.
fascinated. You know, as humans, I think we're so much in love with the concept of overnight success, right?
Yes.
And we always like, you know, in that comparison mode, we look
Oh,
at people that are
yes.
successful and are like, well, they just have natural born talent. You know,
Yeah.
they're an overnight success.
Yeah.
And, you know, the reality is that that lady probably will have someone say that about her in 10 years, right?
Yeah.
She's an overnight success, 10 years in the making, but
But the fact is that she's doing something, you
Yeah,
know?
for sure.
She didn't weigh on the decision to just not do anything. She's actually out there doing it. So, huge.
I always wonder what the trigger is, right? And that's the
Yeah,
thing I'd
and
like
you
to ask
never
her.
know.
What was the one moment where you had crystal clarity in your life that it was time to pull some other lever and make a directional change? Because that's really, I think, the inspiring thing and the thing that Embers Rising is all about, right? Like, what is that break point, that moment, that time where
You had to fuel your own flame.
the fire
Yeah.
just explodes in you and it's so hot you got to get out of the pot.
Digging down into her content a little bit, I saw that she had battled cancer also, and but she's using running as her kind of metaphor to work through all that. So, man, what an incredible woman! I should reach out to her and see if she can bring her on the
That's awesome.
podcast. But anyway, so yeah, number one, we talked about if someone gave you $1 million to sweep the floor, how would you sweep it? And number 2 is, what choice will you be proud of in 5 years from now? Let's move on to number 3, because it's probably something you're overlooking. And that is relationships. This is a really good one, Dave, and I have something to share more on this. Now, let me set this up. So when life feels hard, most people do one thing. We isolate. We pull back, we go inward, and we tell ourselves, I'll reach out when I have something to show for it. I'll reach out when it's amazing for me. Because we don't want to burden anybody with our challenges, right? But when it's amazing, we want to shout it out and tell the world, like, man, this is amazing. This is what I'm doing. Like, this is so great. Did you know I won this race? Did you know I did this thing? And that's amazing. But when things are hard, we self-isolate. Now, but what if the opportunity, the breakthrough, the support you need is already within reach? This is what is so amazingly important. Now, what if someone has already extended a hand and you just haven't grabbed it? I'm going to touch on this here in a minute. We're so focused chasing new connections that we forget about the ones we already have. So ask yourself this: who do I need to reach out to that has already reached out to me? The friend who checked in, the mentor who offered advice, the business connection you said you'd follow up with, but never did.
And can I just put something in there?
Oh, yeah.
There's nothing more amazing than being honest about that, or having someone be honest about that, and they reach out to you and they say, you know, that thing you said a couple years ago, like, it just caught now. It just resonated with me now. And what a great compliment, right? Because that's the one thing we all hope, right? That we can have impact, we can make a difference to our communities, the people that are out there.
I have incredible mentor coach friend who I have not reached back out to, and he continues to send me all of these incredible wins. He just got on a radio show in London. I mean, just one thing after another. He's been on the stage of Mind Valley. I mean, there's just so many incredible things. And here's the thing, is I am being vulnerable with you, my listener. I have not reached out to the people who have reached out to me. because I'm chasing more, relationships. But we got to flip this. There's so many people that I could be reaching out to, and go bold, go all in. Last week when I was with Omar El Takori, and he brought in a friend of his, Neil Dingra, and Neil said, hey, with this VIP group that we were in, just DM me if you have any questions. And I'm like, where are we going to DM him? Is this like Instagram, LinkedIn? I mean, he's not really dropping an email here. So, I mean, this guy's like a major player. And I actually believe today he's doing the social media summit with Gary Vee for 2025. That I'm joining here in about half an hour. But
Yeah, I've heard of those people.
yeah. So anyway, the thing of it is I went forward and I made a personalized video. And I just said, hey, Neil, here's who I am. And I'm reaching out because I'm in this space and I would love some insights. Same thing with Omar. Now, I've known Omar for like 7 years. I think when he started with Think Media, he used to be a full-on like equipment YouTube guy, and now he's moved into personal branding. There's other people on my list inside other communities that I'm a part of that I am just now, David, starting to reach out to. And there's so many more where I could just put more effort into it. And I know we say, oh, we don't have time. But you know what? 1 hour, just 1 hour of your day, and just say, hey, I'm putting the 1 hour into my community, the communities that you're a part of, to network, to connect with relationships, because you never know if that person could turn around and support you. In fact, there's a guy that we're connected to who's super high level, who knows everything about what's happening right now with money around the world. This guy is like a genius. I mean, he has got the drip inside of him to like deliver. Every couple of weeks we get the insides of what's happening around the world. And yet I have not taken the time to reach out and say, hey, this is what's going on. And he continues to deliver to my inbox. He's a personal friend of ours. And I took the time yesterday to write him a message, David, to say, hey, here's where we're at. Would love to connect. Because I'm flipping the switch in my own head too. I'm guilty of it myself. And this is why I built this episode for all of us, because we all go through this and we're all guilty of not taking the action step. So, my ask for you today is to go through your messages, go through your emails, go through your communities, your past conversation. Find one person today that you've been meaning to reconnect with, and then reach out. Like today, this guy who's this mentor, who's this incredible person, who's been on this radio show, who's been a speaker at Mind Valley. His name's James DeKen. Incredible person. He keeps sending me all these incredible stuff that he's doing. And I'm going to reach back out to him and say something. Like, I want to help celebrate his wins.
For sure.
Because he needs some celebration for what he's going through. Because the right connection isn't always out there, sometimes, but it's sometimes already right in front of you, and it might just be the person that you need to cheer you on. And I guess that's kind of why we're excited to be starting our own community, and so if you head over to my Instagram, head over to the community. We're changing the name of the community right now. So just click the community there on the profile, whatever the name of it is. We haven't decided yet. We chose one name and then we're like, we don't like it. Let's choose another name. So anyway, you're going to get such great information about energy, resilience, mindset, but not just that. We're actually going to dive into some teachings about where we can move with AI, with marketing systems and processes that is so overrated that nobody teaches you. We're going to be all in there. And Dave's even going to do a session on some paid ads. I'm going to invite you in to the group, give us a little session.
We'll drag in a little brain health coaching. We'll
all
bring
that.
in a little process communication,
coaching.
communication coaching.
Great.
Like, it's going to be a stew or a salad, depending on whether you like hot or cold food.
It's going to be
right?
ultra amazing.
But I'm excited to see what that becomes, right? I think the one thing that all of that leads back to is we all need to work to break the habit of being you, right? Break the habit of being you if you want to do more, have more, be more, and just give more, right? Get more out of life. If you're not getting it right now, it's because you have not stepped into who you need to become to get those things. And a community is an incredible way of doing that, because you get
Support.
not only support, but outside perspective, right?
So here's the thing. Last week when I was in this brand new community, here's how I started connecting with people. Every day I push myself to share 1 or 2 posts out there, all lay it out on the table, completely vulnerable in this VIP group, David, completely vulnerable. Because I thought to myself, I have nothing to lose. I don't know who the 133 VIPs that are in here. They've come in from all walks of life. Super successful, multi-million-dollar businesses, all the way down to, hey, I'm just getting started. And I embrace all of their feedback. everybody sees something differently. And that's why we're excited to actually build our own community now and help support you, the ember that's rising, that's pushed play in our own community of Embers Rising ourselves. We want to invite you in so we can get, just have a closer relationship together.
Yeah, meet some people.
Yeah.
Which just sounds strange. You'd think we'd know a lot of people, which we do.
We do. We know a lot of people.
We're so busy doing this and all of the other things that we talk about. And at the end of the day, running's not really a social sport for me. Anyway, I know I see some people running and talking. I'm not quite sure how they do it.
If you run long distances, DM me, and you're in Idaho right now, let's go on a run together, because it is winter and it's a little hard to get out there between the storms. I'm running again today. It'll be 2 runs for me, but let's run together. It's the greatest way we can connect. It's a very Jessley Itzler move, So let's run together.
Let's go for a run.
Anything else you want to share, Dave?
No, I don't think so. I love this topic.
Yeah, I love it too.
It resonates with everybody, I think, because we're all facing the same challenges. And I'm not sure if the one thing that we probably didn't touch on here is that comparison factor.
Oh, yeah.
And we see so much success, from everybody that's posting online. But what really gets me excited is when someone pulls back that facade, right, and talks about the real, like what's really going on.
Yeah.
And we even see friends that we know, like they're going through a difficult time, and then they're posting online. You're like,
it's not real.
That's not really what's going on in your life.
Yeah.
Like, bro, I know what's going on, which is fine. But I think, people don't want to be vulnerable sometimes because it's seen as weakness, and failure is seen as weakness. And everything out there is success driven, right? If you're not successful, you're not nothing. And that's BS. So
do your thing. Stay focused on the thing that your dream is. Stay focused on the vision. Don't give up.
Do the thing and you'll have the power. It's not the other way around. Generally, life doesn't give you the power first.
And also be creative. Like if you don't know how to get from the A to the B, get with groups that do know how and follow them. And research it. My sister was telling me the other day, I don't know how to get I have a trainer every week. I don't know how to have a plan when I'm traveling. She travels, she works for a nonprofit. And I was telling her that you could, get an app like the Playbook. There's a Playbook app for working out that you can just, work out. Obviously we all know that on your phone, but sometimes we don't even know that. Sometimes we haven't even thought about that. There's tons of apps, obviously, but it was just one of the apps that came to mind because, hey, I'm supporting Sally McRae. So, I love her app, the Choose Strong group there. But yeah, anyway, to bring it home, this episode really, I hope that this kind of hit the reset button for yourself, because I want to know that if you are struggling and you feel like giving up, push forward and keep rising. We started this episode out, Dave, about talking about those moments, the ones where success feels delayed and we're waiting for the up, and the doubt creeps in, and where you wonder if it's even worth keep going. Is it even worth even doing? And now this is your reset. You have questions that will push you forward, but acknowledgement means nothing without actions. So take the action. So here's your challenge. Don't just listen. Do. Pick one of these questions today and apply it to your life. Reach out, decide, show up like it matters, because it actually does. Iron sharpen irons. Let's make your life worth the value that you're putting into waking up every day. And, if this episode actually hit home for you, don't keep it for yourself. Please share it. Tag me on Instagram. Let me know which question actually hit the hardest for you. Join the community, because we are just getting started, and, success isn't meant to do it alone. And that's why through relationships in there, because that's so powerful. So
love it.
Make sure you've subscribed on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube. We'd love to see you, so you never miss an episode. And if you feel like it, drop a review. It helps us grow. We really appreciate that. Hit the review button on Spotify, rate us on Spotify, hit the review on Apple Podcasts, leave us a comment over there on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. That would be amazing.
And if you, have something that has resonated with you, or some of the people that I keep hearing, in the shout outs, it's time for us to reach out to them.
Yeah.
But if you're listening, reach out to us, because if your story resonates, maybe we can have you as a guest here.
Absolutely.
Which I would love. I'm looking forward to those conversations.
Yeah, and listen, like, we are not robots, okay? We are real human beings in our social channels. So we don't have anybody that's automating our comments here. We are real human beings. We're actually connecting with you, and I see a lot of that going on where, you know, I'm wondering back if some of our followers are automated, you know, bots or something. But I can tell you that we see everything what's going on. So we are here for you. Please DM us. Let us know what's happening. And let's wrap this up, Dave.
Land the plane.
So, reminder for you to keep pushing your boundaries, keep chasing big dreams, and honestly, to simplify all of this, most importantly, wake up every day and keep rising. That's it. That's all you have to do. And we're going to give you our biggest aloha.